let's move on to a $40 billion fundraise that's currently going on, led by Brett Adcock for Figure AI, the humanoid robotics
The
company.
size lord himself.
He is a size lord. He has been raising the stakes endlessly. And I'll give you a little background on some of his history here. Sam Parr broke it down when he did a pod with Brett Adcock. He first sold a company, a hiring software company called Vettery for $100 million. Then he taught himself about flying and he built Archer, basically an electric helicopter for short commutes. He took that company public, SPAC'd it. And I think it's one of the few like hard tech SPACs that's actually kind of sustained. It hasn't gone down 90%. I mean, let's look it up on public. And then he made
well, it's down 8% today. So.
But how is it since like the SPAC launch?
I mean,
is
it's
it
still
up.
It's up 25% month over month. I bet some of this is based on
what's going on at Figure.
Yeah, because totally. I'm sure the SPAC investors are,
hey, this guy's profile is getting raised.
Saying, they're going to put the robots in the planes when the planes ship.
How do you think those humanoids are going to get around? They're going to need
Archers. Dude, this is a huge narrative violation. It's up dramatically from the
SPAC.
What's
the market cap?
In 2021, when it's SPAC'd, it came out at 600 million.
Okay.
It's now at almost 5 billion.
Wow.
So who would have thought?
Because like flying cars are not just racing around. So it's still a speculative investment in many ways.
But yeah, and I mean, like, if you look at even in December of last year, so a few months ago, Archer Aviation stock, I'm on the Alpha Feature Public, faced a significant drop of 24% due to increased short selling activities and funding concerns. So short sellers got absolutely smoked.
Wow.
On this one, depending what kind of position they took.
So he built Figure. He raised $650 million from Bezos, NVIDIA, and OpenAI. And now most recently, he has a new thing called Cover, which makes X-ray-like cameras that can detect if someone's bringing weapons into schools or stadioms. Yeah. So he's gotten into kind of like the flock safety market a little bit. He's been a character in Silicon Valley for a while. But this particular fundraise has been controversial because it's driven heavily by SPVs, which are special purpose vehicles. I'm sure you've dealt with these. But Natasha Mascarenas over at The Information has a breakdown of what's going on. So let's read through that. This is, I think, slide 3 now. Yeah, there we go. SPVs are circling robotics startups' $40 billion valuation funding round. Special purpose vehicles are now a mainstay in venture capital, showing up in some of the biggest deals in artificial intelligence, from OpenAI to Anthropic, as a flexible way to raise cash from a larger pool of investors.
And to be clear, not always a larger pool. Like some of these big, Thrive Capital will do an SPV, but it might be for massive investors, right? It's not always this massive pool of investors. In the case of Figure, it seems like this is basically being marketed to retail.
Oh,
right?
interesting.
I mean, not actually marketed to retail, but more so
more broadly.
Hey, we got a $200 million allocation. Like we're going to bring in, 50 people to fulfill it.
Can you steelman why a fund that has, $3 billion under management in an active growth fund would want to do an SPV when a company, one of their growth stage portfolio companies, is raising $20 billion?
There's a bunch of incentives to do SPVs. One, maybe you don't want to be over concentrated in a single fund. So if you're a growth fund and you have 10% of your investable capital already in that company, it's more and more risk to go further. I think Founders Fund gets very aggressive with this, and that there's more comfort being like, we have 15% of our fund in this one company.
But Founders Fund has also done SPVs as well.
Yeah, but they'll still do SPVs.
Say, go back to the LPs. The other reason, say, hey, you're already committed to this. You have allocation, but if you want more, you can get more access, because this fund this round is so big, we just can't fill it all.
And one of the reasons why investors love SPVs, even if you're operating a large vehicle already, is that the SPV is deal by deal. So if your fund has, 6% IRR and you're getting, some carry on that and your fees, but then one SPV does a 10x, you're getting the full benefit of that all of the 20% carry from that.
Yep.
Even if your fund, underperforms or doesn't achieve the milestones that you initially set. So there's a lot of reasons.
Attractive way to get allocation from like lower tier or maybe people outside of Silicon Valley into SpaceX or Android. There's been a lot of SPV activity there.
And this is why AngelList has caught flack historically, although it's a fantastic platform and like I'm a weekly active user.
Yeah.
But there's managers on there that are, and people that have gotten tremendously wealthy from having one good investment and like 30, losers basically. And so it can end up being over aligned to the manager of the SPV.
Yeah.
And the same thing happens in real estate. It happens in every sort of asset class.
Anything where there's a promote. There's a funny post, maybe Will posted this, something about, there's more in common with an SPV promoter and a club promoter than traditional venture capital. I'll read some of this and then I'm going to get your take. Now, fund managers are considering using SPVs to fund a huge new round for Figure AI, the 3-year-old startup that builds humanoid robots. The Sunnyvale, California-based startup is in talks to raise $1 billion to $2 billion and is seeking a $40 billion valuation, according to 3 people with direct knowledge of fundraising efforts. The company has received a term sheet at that valuation, according to one of the people interviewed. Align Ventures, a New York-based early-stage venture firm that invested in several of Figure's prior rounds, has talked to investors about raising an SPV of several $100 million from its limited partners and other investors, according to 2 people. Parkway Venture Capital, an early-stage deep tech firm that previously invested in Figure, also plans to invest in the round, according to people. What do you think?
The whole thing, they have a term sheet here. Term sheets. The person sending the term sheet determines sort of the entity behind the term sheet determines the weight that other investors put on the term sheet, right? Yep. So, Andreessen Horowitz sending a term sheet is very different than a $30 million seed fund that nobody's heard of before sending a term sheet, right?
Yeah, and term sheets are not legally binding.
Yeah, they're not legally binding. They're in this case could very well be strategically sent in order to one. The other thing is these. I believe we know Parkway, and I believe that Align is in the same boat. I'm trying to check. So, like Align Ventures, for context, their entire portfolio on their website is CPG companies. So they've done Billy, Carev, Coterie, The Farmer's Dog, Figs. So when traditional institutional venture capitals look at, hearing that Figure got a term sheet, and then they go to the fund's portfolio and they're like, wait, this company doesn't have a public deep tech investment. That term sheet, the reason that this round has been memed a little bit is because it's hard to take a term sheet from Align super seriously. It's unclear that they would be able to pull together the capital to do $300 million, much less $1 billion investment, right? Even if they're super excited about it. So Parkway, I'm pulling up Parkway Venture Capital as well. It sounds like they were in Figure already. And so the other thing is that Parkway, if they have a big position in Figure's even last round, they have a huge incentive to mark up their position and just get more capital into the company. The other thing is if Brett is hyper fixated on valuation, which around like this tends to mean, right? There's no real reason that this is a $40 billion company. You could argue that doing 1 on 10 billion would still be a little bit too hot given their traction, right? They haven't released a lot, but Parkway still has an incentive to tell their initial investors, look, you got a 20x on your investment in however many months, and there's so much heat. Brett also has a SPAC that's doing well right now in the public markets, and so maybe they're saying there's some floor to Brett, the Adcock sort of deep tech machine.
Yeah. I mean, the guy's good at fundraising and keeping the share price up and delivering
and the thing that
the shareholder promises.
We talked about this, I think it was off air. I'm curious what Adcock's game plan is because it does feel like in the environment right now, Figure could SPAC. But it certainly wouldn't go out at 40. And if it did, maybe it could go out at 40, but I don't think that's a price that it would be able to sustain. And so what is...
Yeah, it's
what
hard
is
to
the
tell
game
because
plan?
it's not like the valuation would not be driven by their quarterly
Fundamentals.
earnings per share beats or whatever. It's just,
and Archer's lost, burned almost $500 million last year.
Yeah.
And so there's been, there had been concerns of sort of how long can they keep that up, spending $1 million a day with no revenue.
$1 million a day. Wow.
More than $1 million a day.
Yeah, that's a lot. Yeah.
And
I mean, the steel man here, for
like the revenue line on public for Archer is a dash. Like there's no
revenue.
There's
but
no
that makes
revenue.
sense. They're just R&D right now. And Brett would say, hey, look, how long did it take Tesla to start making real money? Took a long time, right?
Yeah.
I don't know how Archer tracks against that timeline perfectly, but
yeah. And to be clear, we love robots.
Yep.
I wanna have an army of robot podcast, producers that Ben controls. We got 50 different camera angles. Everybody should want Figure to win, but it's totally fair to have a few questions about
exactly
why is it getting priced more than Ford Motors?
It's crazy.
Why is it getting priced 4 times Rivian?
Yep.
Right. When you actually think about
almost double Anduril.
Why is it? Yeah, almost double Anduril.
When
Anduril has $1 billion of revenue
and just took a $22 billion contract
some of the best
from IVAS.
Yeah, and some of the best fundraisers ever. Right. So. Look, it's hard for me to see
every tier 1 VC in the Valley.
Yeah.
But there is an interesting question. Like, Align Ventures, people are saying Parkway Venture Capital. These are not typical, like huge growth stage, deep tech funds. But I think there's an interesting idea of like, why did this round come together the way it did? Well, think about the other funds that might do a deal like this and think about their conflicts. Yeah. Are they in an Elon company? Because Elon's working on humanoids, and if you're in X, like Andreessen is, or you're in Sequoia's in X, if you're in SpaceX, if you're in Neuralink, Boring Company, and you say, hey Elon, we're going to go and fund a direct competitor to the Tesla Optimus, even if your venture fund is not a Tesla shareholder, Elon might say, hey, what, like, come on, like I thought we were on the same team here. Yeah, I'm building the Elon companies. And you're in one of those Elon companies. You benefit from everything that I do. Why are you funding a competitor of mine? And so I think it's interesting. Like it is like very impressive that Brett has been able to put together as much money as he had competing with Elon, because like the famous quote is like, never bet against Elon. And Elon said, hey, I'm doing the humanoid robot thing. And that typically means you don't want to be the guy who's going up against Elon.
What Brett is doing is very impressive. Yeah. Anybody, like, he's going to have detractors. Anytime you have somebody rocket to this level of success, he's going to have detractors. There's ways that you can, try to dissect what he's doing. The Parkway, the GP over at Parkway, who's presumably the one that sent the term sheet, has been on the board of Figure since May of 2023. So, if he's, it all comes down to, again, until the round closes, it's all marketing as far as I'm concerned. Totally. And we saw this. It's like Stargate. We saw this with Stargate. We also saw this with the Bolt, Ryan Breslow. When he came out and he said, I have a new investment coming in, and then people. The thing is it's hard to fake a $1 billion investment because I've raised SPVs before. I don't know if you've done SPVs. It's hard to fill filling a $400 million investment. I actually don't believe that, major New York City investment banks would be able to fill a $300 million SPV into Figure at $40 billion.
That's IPO money.
Yeah. They wouldn't be able to fill that at $40 billion. I bet you they could at 5.
Yeah, probably.
But saying that,
I think that's a very good point.
And so Jesse over at Parkway would love to talk to him and kind of hear his plans for this. If he has some, ridiculous capital network that is more risk on than some of them, so
it's good.
Anyway, so there's a lot of questions here that I think are fair. I'm always in favor of high risk investments into deep tech. Yeah. But
this is this is kind of, if a VC is making an investment that doesn't make you uncomfortable, like, are they really doing venture capital?
Yeah,
like
this is venture capital.
This
for sure.
feels like a venture bet.
Yeah,
where it's like, if it works, the bet is that he's going to beat Elon Musk and then deliver humanoid robots, an entirely new technology that will scale to millions of these robots. Like, it will be a $1 trillion company if it works.
But the thing is it would still be a high risk venture bet at $10 billion, right?
For sure.
Because you'd say like, look, this company is going to take, with Rivian, a really like Rivian to me is a like fairly decent comp in that it's
competing with Elon,
competing with Elon,
hard tech,
manufacturing intensive, low margin, right? Like everybody's like, you have to realize that Brett is competing with Unitree, which is a Chinese company, which we've talked about this before. Other Chinese companies have shown we will sell a product at a loss for as long as it takes to own this market.
Yeah.
So is Brett going to have margin when
I completely agree with this.
And so there's a lot of,
even though this is clearly like the most futuristic technologies, this stuff we've literally seen in sci-fi movies. Yeah, well, the other thing it doesn't necessarily mean that there's a network effect and high margins, right? Those two things can be separate. Totally. We can get something that's an incredible, amazing, clearly we're the future, and it's like straight out of sci-fi, and it can be a mediocre business.
Yeah, and then there's the whole other side of this, which is, are bipedal robots even the robot form factor that is going to dominate, right? Is it going to dominate the factory floor? Factory floors are flat, right?
We talked about
Would it make more sense to have a robot that is attached to a wire, so it's powered, can roll on wheels, and it can lift extremely heavy things, right?
Imagine you're the founder of Boston Dynamics looking at this. And you're just like, I've been grinding on this for 20 years. I built so much stuff, and I've never been able to really like pop the stock in a meaningful way. Like I got bought by Hyundai, Dynamics, and then I got bought by Google, and I got traded around, and like my baby has just never had its day in the sun. And
he's not Brett.
No, clearly incredible technologist.
You're not that guy, pal.
You're not that guy. Literally, because the Boston Dynamics demos, like they're clearly on the cutting edge. They're state of the art. They're frontier.
One thing I do believe. Brett's very good at fundraising, very good at recruiting, very good at building hype.
Deals guy. Capital. He's good at puzzling together. So we got the campus. We got the BMW partnership. We got the money. Then we'll get another deal. Then we'll get a thing. Then we'll hire some people.
If we had conviction that Figure was going to, there's this whole thing, which is, Figure could argue in a TAM slide, our TAM is not the value of the robots that we're selling at retail price or in these big enterprise deals. Our TAM is the labor force that we're going to provide and the ongoing earnings when we displace every factory worker in the world or every agricultural worker in the world, right? So there is an art, like he can go out and make a case for how the TAM for this is $5 trillion, and it's very, investing now.
I think from that Dwarkesh Satya podcast, it was the global economy is 100 trillion, and labor is something like 60% of that.
Yeah.
So you're looking at a $60 trillion market.
Yeah.
And it's like, we're going to take 2% of that.
It's great.
$1 trillion business.
They're giving away the shares at 40.
They are giving away the shares. Let's rip through some of this just to give the folks some extra data. This is a massive up round, 15 times the last valuation, which was $2.6 billion. Normally, I feel like when you get into the $2.5 billion range, the next round's at $5 billion. You don't really see that many 10x
or 4x,
up rounds.
4x
maybe.
4x is like, it's pretty normal to go from the 2.5 to...
and that was just a year ago. Jaw-dropping jump even in this market. Figure's investors may ultimately not use SPVs to back the company. They could always just jump the line and go direct. The startup hasn't approved any SPVs and has asked its existing investors to invest from their own funds because they might want to put in more money if they're not having to pay fees, right? Bloomberg first reported on Figure's AI's target valuation. It's true that investors are excited about a new generation of robotic startups. There's a lot of these. Field AI is a maker of AI models to control robots that's targeting a $2 billion valuation. They're raising...
Yeah, and we saw Lockheed's company.
Yeah.
And is Daniel Grow? No. He's part of...
There's
part of the other one.
It's called like General Intelligence or something.
SSI, yeah.
There's a lot of generic names.
No, and the argument for why Figure's valuation could be nearly 2x Anduril's is that Anduril, if they wanted to raise from a hodgepodge group of random SPVs, they could do it at 60. I'm sure,
yeah.
Right?
I mean, they've talked about the oversubscribed nature of these rounds, and they could probably pump that up. But
Anduril with IVAS at $28 billion feels like they could raise from less sophisticated institutional investors at almost double themselves. Right?
Imagine how much they could get if they went to China. Imagine they're just like, actually, we only care for the valuation.
The final frontier.
The mission doesn't matter anymore. Let's just rip, get some crazy money in here. They on Thursday, Figure AI unveiled Helix, a model developed internally that enables robots to perform more complicated tasks. There was this video demo, very cool. They've partnered with OpenAI, so you can talk to it, and they're using like the speech recognition and the chat GPT stuff to kind of act as an interface to the instruction set. It's already raised $745 million from investors, including Microsoft, OpenAI, and NVIDIA, real murderer's row of corporates and strategics, which I think he's really, really good at doing. And it has big plans. They've hired more than 200 people for an engineering and AI hardware team, according to documents created by an SPV manager. The company is projecting it will build up to 100,000 robots over the next 4 years, according to the same materials and two of the people. The company secured BMW as a first customer. None of those plans explain why investors think the company is worth $40 billion. For context.
Yeah, and to give some context, if they're selling these robots at $100,000 a pop, which feels low given that's generally the price point that Unitree sells at, you can go buy a Unitree robot for around 6 figures. That's $10 billion of revenue. So if Brett is saying, I want you to give me I want you to basically give me a 5x, 4x on my
forward revenue
on my 2029 forward revenue. It still feels crazy.
It is crazy because so that revenue multiple of like 60x revenue, 40x revenue, that's not crazy in AI. Like Anthropic is raising at 58 billion, but they have $1 billion in ARR.
Yeah.
And so, but it's now. They have that ARR now. And so,
and the other thing from a pricing standpoint is, didn't Satya buy half of OpenAI for like 10 billion? Like not even.
Yeah, I don't know. No, I don't think half, but certainly like a third or something like that. And so let's go to some reactions on the timeline to break this down. We got Luke Metro over at Anduril. He says, Brett Adcock is shaping up to be the best fundraiser since Adam Newman. Amazon.com, and this is from back in 2024, in February, almost a year ago today. Amazon.com founder Jeff Bezos, NVIDIA, and other big technology names are investing in startup Figure AI that builds human-like robots, Bloomberg News reported Friday, citing people with the knowledge. They're backed by OpenAI and Microsoft. Sama can win when he gets 7 trillion. And so people have been talking about Brett Adcock's amazing fundraising abilities for a long time. You had a post about it, which is in here. It took the Ford Motor Company 115 years to reach a $40 billion market cap. Brett Adcock did it in just 3 years with Figure. Can we finally stop glazing Henry Ford now?
Senra probably saw this. And if he didn't know that I was joking, he probably had an aneurysm.
Yeah, of course.
Do not disrespect Henry Ford. I was obviously joking here.
Yeah, the markets are crazy.
I think they both deserve respect.
Yep. But the title of Henry Ford is like a historic entrepreneurial goat, right? One of the greatest to ever do it.
And Brett could be that guy.
Brett could.
But
he's got
too
a lot. Early.
He's got like 20
right now.
years.
He's NBA prospect, potential rookie of the year if he can start delivering these robots. But his jersey's not going up in the rafters unless the cash flow gets there to back it up.
I just think at this point, like believability matters so much.
I agree.
Right? Like when Humane came out and they said this is the future computing platform.
Yeah.
Nobody believed them.
Yeah.
When Figure goes out and says we believe we're worth $40 billion and that's where we want to take new capital, nobody believes it. And it's such a, and again, I just think you could have raised a 3x up round and everybody probably
at a $5 billion valuation with like scrappy engineers, a little bit more like, hey, we're just focused on engineering, building, we're sharing even more. The vibes could be way, way better.
Yeah.
Right. But instead it seems like frothiness as a brand. right? And that's odd. So Sheil Monat says, Figure humanoid robots reportedly raising at 39.5 billion. So it's not 40. Give me a break, Jordy. He's not raising at 40. He's raising at 39.5.
Yeah.
Okay. Sheil says Frothy.
I wonder if they chose it to be slightly less than that so that it feels like there's some science-based reason. Like they put it in a spreadsheet and they popped out, this is the right number.
One time I was negotiating with VC early on in my career, and he's like, oh yeah, like I put my whole team on this. They built a whole bunch of models and they came back with like valuation for the company is like, $150 million. Like, can't do any better than that. And I was just like, that you clearly didn't do any math, like you, because like you would have given me like a not round number. Like you clearly just ballparked this because otherwise you would have been like, me, bro. Yeah, like the spreadsheet said like 137,000,024, and so I rounded that to 138, and that's what we're doing.
Yeah.
Instead, it was just like, no, you didn't do this at all. So yeah, if you're raising folks, don't try and raise it 100 million. Raise it 99.99.
Yeah.
For a limited time only.
For a limited time only.
Tell your LPs 3 easy payments. Three easy payments on the $20 million Series A. Sequoia used to do this for YouTube, I believe. They did a tranched investment. 3 easy payments of $10 million each.
And then it turns out, as a founder, you really don't want to take tranched investments because you're sort of having to operate based on getting the money. Yeah. But then if it doesn't come through, then there's so many reasons that the VC could change their mind. Yeah. Every private markets investor has made an investment at some point, or active ones at least, where they get the first update and they're just like, I messed up.
And so Base Baron has a quote in here. He says, if Brett Adcock can raise money still, so can you. Never kill yourself. Very funny. Having some fun on the timeline.
Having some fun.
But, I went through Brett's post, and he's got some bangers in here. The guy can post. He says, I've raised almost $1.7 billion from cold emails from my companies. I've tracked performance of cold emails versus referrals, and cold emails consistently outperform by a long shot for a few reasons. Sharing mine, this is converting at 70% email to meeting. Hi, my name is Brett Adcock. I'm the founder and CEO of Figma.
See the precision here, 70.8%.
Yeah, he's a precise guy.
Specific.
There's something to this. I think you're onto it. Prior to this, I founded Archer Aviation, electric VTOL aircraft company, NYSE Archer, and also founder of Vettery, sold for $100 million. Do you have time for a call? I mean, yeah, I mean, there's a lot to like about this structure in the sense that it's just 2 sentences, very clear. He presents, what's he doing now? Why is he calling you? And what has he done in the past, very concisely. And so even if you're someone newer in your career, you could easily say, prior to this, I built a startup, raised $1 million, and studied engineering at this school. Do you have time for a call? That's way better than ChatGPT, paragraphs, like all that junk. And so, obviously, if you didn't sell a company for $100 million, probably gonna have a lower conversion rate here, but you can still adopt a lot of this. Which I thought was cool. He had another crossover with a good friend of the pod, Theo. Did you see this one?
Wait, did I miss the? Did we miss the Ben follow up there?
Oh,
this is really good.
Do you know Ben?
Ben, another friend of the pod.
Okay.
Says tried it, doesn't work, and he sends an email from him, Ben, saying, Jim, my name is Brett Adcock, and I'm the founder CEO of Figure, an AI robotics company building a general. And then Jim responds, you are not Brett Adcock. Your profile clearly says that your name is Ben. Please remove me from your mailing list immediately. So having some more fun on the timeline. And then we got Theo.
Yeah, Theo's in the game. Crossover of the century. He says, company ideas are worthless. Execution is king. This is from Brett Adcock, posting some wisdom on the timeline. He says, in the limit, the pace of technological progress is the only competitive advantage. How to stop overthinking strategy and execute like the top 1%. He drops a thread. He's been a bit of a thread boy throughout 2024, but he grinded his whole account way up. And now whenever he posts a new robotics video, instant virality. And I'm sure he had a great team working on this with him.
Powerful.
Kyle Kashuv says, hey, John H. Theo, this is your bit. And Theo says some interesting ideas he's got there because Theo was all on the ideas guy train for a while. And, he's trying to coin it. The problem is, Theo, you didn't coin a phrase.
Yeah.
You didn't really break through with that concept.
Guy.
Yeah. Idea guy that was a phrase before Theo. Theo was doing some really great foundational work on what
the
value of being an ideas guy was.
He coined business magic. Magic is real.
Okay.
Like he did a good job of that with Invest Like the Best.
Yeah.
I liked his episode there.
He's just got to go a little bit deeper into it and really push, I think. But he'll get there.
Let's see what Apple Intelligence thinks.
Yeah. So this is a great way to close out. Brett obviously working extremely hard. He needs rest. He's been using an 8 Sleep temperature controlled mattress the last 2 nights, seeing 40% plus in my REM SWS hours. Stephen Burkholder says, keep us posted on the long term. And Mateo from 8 Sleep chimes in and says, in the meanwhile, check out 1,000 reviews about us here. And that takes us to our first promoted post from 8 Sleep.
Boom. That was smooth, John.
Smooth.
That was good.
The founder we're talking about is sleeping on an 8 Sleep. It's an 8 Sleep ad. Let's go. But we have an update. Somebody in the chat yesterday was asking, Jordy was wearing an 8 Sleep hat. Can you get an 8 Sleep hat? And yes, you can. They don't just throw them into every order, but if you order with our code and send it to us, we'll send it to the team. Send us a screenshot of the order. We will
make sure that one of these
TBPN, I think, and if you order an 8 Sleep, they will send you a hat if you order through our code. So have fun with that.
Send us a screenshot.
And what's your sleep score at today?
I've been putting up crazy numbers.
Crazy numbers?
I've been putting up crazy numbers.
Let's see what I'm at.
I got a 98 last night.
98.
My routine
I got a 91.
Was dialed.
My routine was not good, 62%. But I did put up 7 hours and 10 minutes. Pretty good. Pretty happy with that.
Quality
was 100%. Feeling
this
good.
Week, my average bedtime was 8:46. My average wake up was 4:54.
You send me texts being like, I'm going to bed for the night at like 8. It's great.
Yeah.
And you're like, stop texting.
I try to turn off my phone.
It's good. Yeah. It's key. Getting to bed early makes it so easy to wake up early. That's the whole secret. It's not more alarms. It's just get to bed early. Fall asleep quickly. And that's what the 8 Sleep helps you do.
Yeah. Anyway. I don't. The other thing with the 8 Sleep is like, to me, the best, like the functionality that I genuinely love the most, because living in Malibu every single night, the temperature drops.
Oh yeah.
It's not too cold. It's not too hot. It's just nice. But the feature that I actually love, and I feel a little bit soft for saying this, is the way that it warms your bed as you're waking up. It makes it so easy to get out of bed because I'm already warm. The worst is you wake up, you're cold.
Totally, and you want to stay in.
And you want to stay in bed. I don't want to stay in. I'm ready to go.
Yeah.